everyone. Welcome to another episode of GunnerKing's. Got a very special guest today, featured last week. Was it last week? It seems like
I think it was. Yeah.
In the wake of the events with Saka at the Euros. So today's guest is GT Talks from Cannon Chatter. Why didn't you tell everyone, a bit about yourself and where we can find you?
Yeah, so GTalksArsenal. I'm a member of Cannon Chatter TV, so you can follow Cannon Chatter TV, which is at Cannon Chatter. You can follow myself at GTalksArsenal. So yeah, just been a gooner my whole life, and only really been on this YouTube thing probably over the last, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 months. Had Twitter quite a while, but I just thought to myself, why not? During the whole kind of lockdown, I thought, I talk about football, I talk about Arsenal all day, every day. If it was a sport, I'd be up there. So I just thought, why not, share some opinions and talk all things Arsenal. So yeah, that's where you can find me, and that's a little bit about myself.
Yeah, no, I think, your story sounds a bit similar to mine as well. Just where through lockdown, I think it just started randomly with TikTok, then with Twitter, and now this whole YouTube thing with the sports family launching the Armoury TV a few weeks ago, I think.
Okay.
End of June we launched this channel, but we were doing shows before that, in the run into the end of last season. But yeah, it's so good to have you on. Love Cannon Chatter and the stuff that they've been doing. Been working with Lottie a lot as well, and looking forward to working with the rest of the guys as well. And we've got a few stories to discuss today. It's quieting down a bit, I would say, but yeah, I think the main news of today that everyone is probably delighted with, associated with the football club, would be the renewing of Emil Smith-Rowe's contract. So he's also been given the number 10 shirt, which I feel a bit mixed on, but look, I'm happy. He's my favorite youth prospect, above Saka, which is a bit controversial, but I've been watching him from very young. I think the first game I watched him live was against Blackpool in a cup game a few years ago when he was 17, and just ever since then I've followed his career really closely. Really happy to see him break into the team this season, and yeah, I'm just over the moon that we tied him down to a long-term contract in spite of all this hearsay that we were hearing about those claret and blue of Brummyland, coming in to steal him. So what are your thoughts?
You know what? It's fantastic. You know what I mean? It's Smith-Rowe is one of those players that, when he kind of first burst onto the scene, everybody kind of thought, this was it. He was going to be like, the next this or the next that, but it didn't quite work out to begin with. He suffered with injuries. Obviously, Arsenal ourselves, we've gone through, the mill in terms of different managers, coming to the latter stages of Wenger and then changing over managers. So all that kind of uncertainty, along with obviously his injury record, just didn't really work out for him. So obviously he went on loan, did really well, came back, and let's be honest, his introduction into the first team, and predominantly the first 11, the other side of Christmas last season, was one of the main reasons why we were not langering down in 15th, because when he came into the side, that's where we were, So he's earned his contract. Sometimes you can say you kind of question, when a team signs a player on for the next kind of 3, 4, 5 years, you can sometimes question, do we really need them? Could we have moved them on, etc. But with this one, despite his age, I would even go as far as to say his inexperience, every single gooner, I would say, even the most negative ones on Twitter, would be unified in being happy about the news today. So, he's earned that contract. He's done fantastically well at the latter stages of last season. And I just think all Arsenal fans are just really excited, for the fact that we've got him for the next, 4 years or so. I really can't see this boy leaving Arsenal. No. I really can't see it. And, I was having this debate on Twitter the other day about, it was, you know, about players not necessarily wanting to play for the club. It was the whole Locatelli debate.
Right.
And I'm very much, I love the old school, but I'm very much got a modern day mindset in terms of not every single player that we sign is going to be in love with Arsenal Football Club. Football's changed, you know, football is very much more about the money, if anything. And the example I used to the guy was, I said, well, look at Man City's success. You know, if you look at that team, not all of those players signed for that club, even knowing who Man City were. You know, not all of those players are passionate about the club, but money talks. They went there and they've turned them into a really good side. So, you know, but with Smith Rowe, you can tell he plays for the badge.
That's it.
You understand? He plays for the badge. And Smith Rowe, that's the same for Smith Rowe. It's the same for Saka. And that's why it was so crucially important that we locked these boys down. So I'm absolutely thrilled. It's not just his contract, though. Obviously, today we're talking about Smith Rowe, but you know, Tierney's locked down, Saka's locked down, and it's good, you know, and it kind of dispels this myth, you know, that's going around with, you know, the Arteta out gang about Arteta not being able to work with young players. You know, I think it's very clear. It's very clear now that, you know, I put up a status something about being sarcastic about it's obvious that Arteta can't work with young players because look, they're all signing new contracts and they believe in his project. So look, I'm
pretty well put, to be honest. You know,
I'm absolutely thrilled. But I think similarly to you, not that I don't think he's earned the number 10 shirt, but I do have my reservations about the number 10 shirt. Which we can probably get in, I don't know, maybe later in the conversation. But yeah, look, absolutely thrilled for the guy. Massive congratulations. And I just want him to have a big season now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I definitely echo that sentiment. I think, what I like about him is he does want to play for the badge. You know, you can tell he's hailing through and through.
Yeah.
He came into the team last season when, you know, we were really in a bad space. And what he did is, you know, through his performances, he really galvanized other team members around him. You know, him and Saka really stepped up, took responsibility that went beyond their years.
Yep.
And I think, he did have a tough start with injuries and you know, sort of loan spells. But I never really doubted that he would get into the first team. You know, one thing you mentioned, like the next tags, I can't stand them, you know, because everyone looked at him and I remember with that Blackpool game telling loads of people to stop calling him the next Ozil. That's what we were doing. And that was like the first game I saw him live. But the kid's amazing. But forget the next tags, the next Messis, the next Ronaldos, the next the other. We put so much pressure on our young players when we do that, you know, and so much, I think what you were saying about the modern game relies on the mental side as well. I think when youngsters now are more engaged with social media activity, you know, he like a confirmed unveiling on TikTok that I do, for example, you know, so they're on all the platforms, Instagram, you know, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, and they see and they hear stuff, you know, and it can be quite damaging. They can buy into that hype. But I think he's got a very level-headed on his shoulders. What you mentioned about the number 10 thing, I think, you know, as I said, you know, I don't necessarily think he's better than Saka, but for me, he's my favorite youngster in the core group of youngsters at the moment. With the number 10 shirt, I did think, you know, maybe, and again, you know, I think the way that he's dealt with everything, he is fairly level-headed as an individual and as a youngster in his personality, you know, quite quiet, lets his football do the talking. I just really hope that taking that shirt and the responsibility that comes with it in any way or shape or form, put him or make him feel any under any pressure to perform. You know, that's my one concern with the number 10 shirt. And the other was, you know, I think if we're looking at other players, one in particular that's exciting, that we're going to get to in a minute, would they want a number 10 shirt? And, you know, how would they be affected by that? You know, Maddison, you know, being the character that he is, he seems quite ego-driven, you know, not in a way. You know, he's quite outspoken, you know, quite brash. And I don't know, I suspect it wouldn't have any bearing, but
Yeah.
I'm just happy for him anyway, you know.
Yeah, you know, for me, I've seen a lot. Obviously, it was a really positive bit of news. I don't think any of us were expecting it today, but for me as well, it's nothing to do with the fact that, you know, Dennis Bergkamp had the shirt, you know, Paul Merson, you know, Van Persie, William Gallas had the shirt, you know, for crying out loud. So for me, it's not about who had the shirt previously, because if you want to do comparisons, you know, we had the great Dennis Bergkamp who had the shirt, and then we had William Gallas, who in his own right was a good defender, but, you know, there were issues there. You know, he didn't really, for me, he didn't really respect that number. He didn't really deserve that number. And given his position, you know, I'm quite traditional. I don't even know why he had the number 10 shirt anyway. But for me, it's more to do with the fact, like you said, it's to do with the pressure. You know, like when you think of a number 10, like that's the main guy. You know what I mean? That's the main guy in terms of the creativity. Yeah. So it is a huge amount of pressure. But like I said, I think he deserves it. You know, I wish him all the best. And I just hope that the number inspires him and, you know, kind of motivates him to, because I don't, like you said, you know, the kind of person he is, I think, you know, even though I have my reservations and my doubts about the amount of pressure that we might be putting on him in terms of giving him that number, you know, just looking at him, the type of person he is, you know, the way he carries himself, I think he's, you know, if whatever happens, you know, this season with Smith Rowe, what you're going to get is 100% effort. That's what you're going to get. You know, he's not going to fail, you know, in terms of effort. He's not going to fail in terms of trying. So I just think, you know, the contract, that's brilliant news. The number 10, I think hopefully that will just motivate him and inspire him, you know, and hopefully he has a really good season. I think, you know, Arteta's already kind of raised the bar. You know, if you think about the back end of last season, he actually said, look, you know, he's had a great season, but, you know, a number 10 or a player of his ability, he should be scoring 15 goals and 10 assists. So it's pretty clear, you know, that the kind of conversation that Arteta would have had with him, the kind of conversations that they would have had around, obviously, you know, renewing his contract. So, yeah, it's not only that, it's a massive show of faith, you know. And for all the people, you know, even including myself, that have criticised Arteta throughout last season, because at the end of the day, it is a results business. But, you know, what he is doing, you know, minus the Saliba situation, because I think that's a unique situation and we need to treat that as a unique situation in its own right. What he's doing with these youth players is phenomenal. It really is, you know, because there are very few clubs in this Premier League that can say they have players of that age that are that impactful and that important to our first 11. So, you know, doing a good job when it comes to the young players, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree as well. You know, I think that's one of the biggest myths that I enjoyed dispelling on Twitter and other social media spaces. The myth that on the basis of, say, a Guendouzi or Saliba situation, which both of them, I think, believe in that should be treated in their own right vicinity and have their own mitigating circumstances in their outcomes. It's just casual, in my opinion, to be like, well, you can't work with youngsters when our player of the season last season was a youngster.
It's nonsense. It's nonsense.
And you know, probably second or third or not far off. If he had played a full season, who's to say Smith Rowe couldn't have, you know, pipped Saka to it, you know? And obviously Pepe, and you look at your Lacazettes as well. You know, you look at Tierney. What I like is we're kind of going back to our roots. I find, you know, like whether or not Arteta is the man, what I'm finding is our successful era and our past and part of our DNA involves our academy. And, you know, it's been very intimately linked with our past success of bringing people through the ranks, you know, going to La Masia and Barcelona and taking, you know, Cesc and Fabregas around the you know, sort of putting them in our academy and developing them, giving them a first team spot, you know, the likes of Jack Wilshere and these players, and putting them in the team, you know. And I think going back to that is important. Having a core of young players, tail end academies, tail end academy products, as well as a core of kind of English or British, if you want to include tiers into that, as well.
I know the game.
They know the English game. It gives the club a sense of identity as they grow, they mature into leaders. You know, if we looked at the core young group, say a Martinelli, who's not from the English shores, when they come in, and then they've got these young, maturing players, you know, around them to kind of help them induct themselves, you know, learn about the culture of the football here and the English game and the history and the traditions of the club. I think that's so important. So I think that's why as well, beyond what he brings on the field, I like kind of that off the field aspect. In Saka and ESR, with what you said about them leaving the club, I think that could extend to Saka as well. And I could see these guys becoming integral leaders. Of
Legends, man.
Yeah. And I think, you know, the sort of changes that we've been crying out for so long in how we are proactive in the transfer market and with contracts to not see your likes of your Ozils or your Rams, you know, it's a clear signifier as well that we are looking to learn from mistakes and make changes. So there's so much that goes into that.
It's coming from Arteta and Edu, you know, like I say, I've criticized Arteta. I'm not Arteta out, but you know, not even close to Arteta out. But I'm also not completely convinced by him either.
Same boat, my friend. Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, and obviously, I think when Edu came into the club, I was pleased because you know he wasn't invincible. All right, he wasn't like one of the first 11, but he was an integral part of that team. So that was a good sign. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, all the kind of contract renewals, you know, if you look at the players that we've bought so far or are looking to buy this summer, you know, in terms of Tavares, you know, Ben White, obviously the deal's been agreed. And who was the second one? Lokonga, Sambi. You can definitely see that we're picking up these players at the right age, bringing them into the club, you know. And for me, that's not coming from Kroenke.
No,
that's not coming from those guys because you know they know nothing of the English game. They know nothing of you know the importance of bringing in youth players and so forth and keeping hold of your star players. But for me, that's got to come from Arteta and Edu. You know, that's got to come from those guys. So equally, we'll sit here and we'll criticize them and we'll say, look, you know, this is not right. You know, I even said to somebody on Twitter today, I said, you know, if Edu doesn't get this window right, potentially it should be his last because. You know, he's got to get it right. But when they do things right, we need to be big enough to say, you know what, job done.
Hold our hands up as well.
Job done. Because I think if you'd given me this window at this point prior, I would have taken it. I would have taken it if we had secured those 3 contracts and signed those 3 players, and we're coming to mid to the end of July. At that point, I would have taken it. So far so good. More work to be done, but so far so good.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a long road. I think there's other targets that we're looking at, and you know, we're going to look at the next one now. But I think in terms of seeing, you know, look, I mean, there's a lot to undo in our recent history with our ownership, with our backroom setup, with our playing staff, and it's a lot to forget for some fans, myself included. You know, like, but if I start to see the changes that I'm seeing now. You know, it's not like all is forgiven, but at the same time, we have to credit that, you know, like because, you know, there are clubs out there like Liverpool, you know, that got Champions League places last season that do need to make replacements that have been umming and ahhing and lumbering and, you know, Spurs, obviously their troubles. You know, I think Leicester are the one real club that have made real, in terms of the number of signings.
Very well run club.
But we're getting there, you know. I think Ben White not being done is circumstantial with him being on holiday. We're not going to make the kid come off holiday just to do a medical. What's the point sending the guy out there to do the same when they're going to have to quarantine when they get out there? It just doesn't make any sense. So that would have been done if it wasn't for quarantining. You know, Tavares and the Congo would have been done sooner if they didn't have to quarantine for 10 days, however many they got here. So look, we're seeing changes. You know, Richard Garlick as well. He needs credit. Yes. They identified the need to bring him in to help Edu and Arteta out with all of the contract negotiations, which have now, since he's come, You know,
we're seeing the fruits of that labor. Yeah,
very quickly as well from when he's appointed, because he already started working at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So these things need a bit of praise. Like, you know, it doesn't mean that all is forgiven, or, you know, that we think we suddenly got more. All that's forgotten with decisions he made last season, forgotten. But at least we're seeing learning and progress.
Definitely.
That's all you can ask for. But I mean, speaking of progress and as well as going forward, I think this is the move that is really exciting everyone potentially summer. And I think, you know, now that we've kind of moved on with Smith Rowe, now that we've got Ben White subject or pending to a medical, you know, I think now we can really move on to the meteor transfers and really start doing the business in terms of improving our first team squad. So I mean, you know, the talk about Maddison is definitely intensifying, and I think that with this, there's definitely no smoke without fire. I'm not going to commit myself to saying it's a done deal, but it certainly looks like we are pushing, and that there is potential interest on Maddison's side as well. Leicester is said to want 65 million, and there is talk that we are preparing an offer of 55 million, and that we're willing to involve some players as well. So, in fact, no, wait, the last bit that I want to see there, apparently he's willing to hand in a transfer request. I don't know how trustworthy that element of it is, but I would say he's definitely interested. You know, and I think, it'll just be good to see if we could get something like that over the line. That would just, I mean, you know, I'd be over the moon, delighted. I think he's a really talented player. I mean, a few things. I think, you know, first, your thoughts on Maddison coming to the carpet, if you think it's realistic. You know, I think the other part that I wanted to discuss there was the player involvement part, any kind of potential swap deal. I mean, give us your thoughts on all of that, G.
Boy, you know, there are transfers, and then there are M&S transfers. You know, the ones there. It's like this is a transfer. Do you understand? This is a transfer that's you know, it's not even really been verified by, you know, your really reliable journalists. But as you said, you know, there's no smoke without fire. There's too much noise for there to be nothing in this.
That's it.
And yeah, this is a transfer that's got us all excited, you know, and you know, people have different opinions, you know, et cetera, about, you know, the type of player we need to buy, and you know, who, you know, what player could come in, because ultimately, despite, you know, the emergence of Saka and Smith Rowe and Pepe in the latter part of the season, you know, there were periods of last season where we did struggle for creativity, and you know, despite, you know, Smith Rowe signing his contract, going into the season with Smith Rowe playing as number 10, it's not enough. It's not enough to carry us throughout that season. One,
it's not fair on him.
Yeah, one, it's not fair on him, and two, God forbid, but any player is an injury away from being on the sidelines for a lengthy period of time. So we can't go into the season, you know, like that. And I think what Arteta said, you know, recently, I think has got people excited as well about, you know, buying more experienced players, because he said something about the profile. We've bought a lot of young players in terms of profile, but now we need to kind of bring in players who are a little bit more experienced, how to manage games, etc. But yeah, Maddison for me is the dream transfer of this window. He is an exceptionally gifted player. You know, he's 24, which means, you know, he's not even coming to his prime yet in terms of you know, in terms of his ability. But he's got it all. He's got it all, and I don't understand how, if you're an Arsenal fan, you can't be excited about this, because, you know, I've always admired him. I've always watched him play, but obviously the emergence of Leicester as a force in the Premier League kind of like makes me a little bit hesitant about, you know, bigging up their players. But this guy's got it all. You know, he's quick. He's got good passing ability, right foot, left foot, free kicks, set pieces. He scores goals. He gets assists. He is like, you know, he is your creative spark. You know, he's a player. He's a game changer. He changes games, you know, in a split second. So, Yeah, if whatever we can do to get this over the line, I would be happy. I think that there's a lot of talk about the potential asking price. Like you said, 65 million. We all know Arsenal are not going to go in with no 65 or 70 million. We're going to test the waters with probably 50 million because that's just the Arsenal way. But
you know what? Just quickly to interrupt there, though.
Yeah.
The difference, though, like. Before, a few years ago, we were making a 40 million and £1 bid for Suarez, just doing the exact, what was needed to get players in. I mean, we're not going to speak too much about Locatelli today. Suarez were like, the asking price is £34 million, 40 million euros, and we were like, done, we'll pay it.
See the money.
Let us know if you're messing you around and you're serious and you want the money from you, we'll give it to you. And I think 65 and 55 million is not a million miles apart.
No, it's not.
I think if you're going in with an opening bid and you're not serious, 15, 20 million pound off, I'd be worried. 10 million for a 55 million guy, and then saying that, we'll offer you players. That we might get closer with add-on and remove the player part. But even at that 55 million, and then say, I think someone here mentioned Ainsley Maitland-Niles, maybe. I think it was Georgina. Shout out Georgina in the comment section, by the way, that said, that could be interesting because they showed interest in him before. It's not like we're not taking the mick anymore when we're going in for players. We're making serious bids. We're doing things a bit more aggressively, and we're not moaning about the market and the conditions of the market. I think someone here, Pyro Destiny touched on, what we think about overpriced British talent. I mean, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Wenger did try and it didn't work, but equally, I think everyone could probably agree that you needed an identity of at least some players from your own country. So it kind of is what it is,
it is. It is, unfortunately. That's the market. And you can't dictate how the market is. That's just the way it is. And it's either you pay the price or you don't dip into the market. You go elsewhere. But what is clear is that what's been missing. We've been missing a core of British players. Like we have been missing that over the years. That like we've spoken about that, know the game, know the Premier League, etc. And for me, like there was a lot of when it came out about the Ben White deal and that we'd agreed a £50 million deal for Ben White. There was uproar about the price tag, and I said in some previous lives on Cannon Chatter that I don't care because one, it's not my money, and two, like I want the team to invest. But what the Ben White deal showed me is that if this team, our team, is prepared to spend 50 million on an upcoming English centre back, and that is not even probably the most area of concern within the team. Definitely midfield is the area of concern. Then what the Ben White deal showed me is that these guys are not messing around at all. And that all the issue with regards to Locatelli, like you said, our bid was on the table from day. Even when they were messing around, Juve were messing around, our bid was on the table. So for me, I don't think if this deal falls through, I don't think it will be down to money.
No.
I don't think it will be down to money because I think, regardless of what Leicester City fans think, because I know they've been piping up, since all of this transfer news and stuff, but they are a selling club. Leicester City are a selling club. They are run very well, very, very well, and they recruit very, very well. At the same time, they buy small, they sell big. That's what they do. They practically sell a first team player every single summer, and they use that money to then recruit and build again. So that's why I think there's a lot of reasons why this deal could go ahead. I think Arsenal are at a point where, two back-to-back seasons finishing 8th, not in European football. I think the club know they need to invest. And I think alongside Maddison being at Leicester City, a club that is, known for selling, top talent, once they've kind of bought it in and developed it. And I think also what's going on in our favor as well is if you look at some of the other top teams that are above us in the league, they don't need a player of Maddison's style or ability. You look at United, they got Pogba and Fernandes. You look at City, they got, Silva and, De Bruyne or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things, that really kind of playing in our favor. And honestly, like, I'm really optimistic that this deal can get done. I think he's an exceptional player. I went over how good he is. I don't think there's anything really weak about his game. And I was actually quite surprised that he's 24. I thought he was a bit older. I didn't think he was as young as 24. I thought he was more like 25, like 26, 27. But yeah, so in terms of like the players we can include, bro, we got a whole squad of players that we we could potentially include. I'm thinking, like, obviously, realistically, looking at Leicester's squad, who also have a decent squad, there's no point offering them, Eddie or any of them man there. But they have been previously, interested in Maitland-Niles. And apart from him, looking at the other ones, I'm not sure who else they would really be interested in, because people have spoken about, floated the name Reece Nelson, but I can't see it. I can't see them potentially being interested in him. Maybe I could be wrong, but I think the one that definitely stands out is Ainsley. I think if we could potentially offer, 55, 60 mil on Ainsley, I like the kid, I really do, but I'd take that deal all day. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely would as well. I think, I personally think they're going to hold out for cash, but I think it's worth a try. And I don't think we're a million miles off with the valuations. I just want to go through some of the comments because they've been absolutely crazy on this subject.
No worries.
But I think, in terms of, we went through that one with the market being the way it is. And look, at the end of the day as well, age is important. Like, what you're buying at that age is not just who he is at the moment, who is in the Premier League, England international as well. He's representing his country. But you're buying the potential, because at 24, as you said, he's not hit his prime yet.
Yeah.
So you're buying into the player that he is looking like he could and will become with the right directorship. So the other thing as well, he's an English player coming from an English club, but the club don't want to sell the player. So that dictates the price further. I mean, these really basic and simplistic like views of transfers, it's just, I mean, for me, I work in recruitment. So, like, you understand like the nature of sales and supply and demand and these things. And that's just the way it is, if you want to attract someone out of their job and they don't want to leave, you have to pay that person more. Like, it's a reality, they're happy they are, so you have to make them an offer they can't refuse, and people expect that not to extend to the world of football. It's just, I find it very
if anything it's going to be worse.
And like, the other thing as well, like, look, right now, to go from 8th to a title winning team, okay, Liverpool did it, but the reality is Liverpool probably had a bit more clout then than we have now. They're a bigger club. They had finished 8th, but they're Liverpool. With all due respect, I don't think even the most diehard of Ardent fan is going to argue that our level and theirs, in terms of stature, based on history and what they've achieved in the game, obviously winning Champions Leagues, competing, having their success in the 70s and 80s, where they were the dominant force. Selling a project on bringing back those days is a lot easier than ours. So the players that we could attract in the position when they were 8th, and the fact that we've been 8th 2 seasons in a row, ownership, it's not the same. So we're not looking at title winning players. We're looking at players that we can bring in that will improve this football club.
100%.
We're not looking much further than that. We are obviously looking, I think, at bringing up the English quota. As you can see, all 3 of these players are English. Ramsdale, I mean, we're not going to talk about today, but maybe I can see why people are a little less keen on him. But I think I agree with Silver Fox, man. I think, he just needs to chill, have a nice pop. It's all about just progression. I talk about that a lot. And, I'm sure you'd agree, Ollie might not have taken them to a trophy. We might banter that, given that Arteta has won us a trophy.
Yeah.
But season on season, he has improved Manchester United with still a lot of work to do. And that's how it works.
Yeah.
You know?
And he spent money.
Yeah.
You know, in order to do that, he spent a lot of money. You know,
300 million without the Sancho change.
Exactly. So, you know, and you know, this is the one thing sometimes it annoys me with Arsenal fans is that, you know, you very rarely, to be honest, I don't really pay much attention to United fans and stuff, but I do know a couple of United fans. And when Manchester United, you know, roll out, you know, 100 million on Pogba, when they roll out 80 million on Maguire, 90 million on Sancho, they don't moan. Like, they honestly don't moan about their club spending money. Like, and I just think to myself, like, you know, at the end of the day,
some accountants, don't they?
Yeah, at the end of the day, you look at our team. Like, we needed a backup left back. We needed that because that cost us at the end part of last season. We brought in Tavares. Now we don't know how Tavares is going to perform across the season, but at the end of the day, that was an issue within the squad, and it's been addressed. Whether or not it's been addressed, you know, properly or correctly, time will tell. You know, we need a right centre back. We bought Ben White. That's an area that's been addressed. David Luiz has left the club. You know, you look at the midfield situation. We've lost Guendouzi. We're probably going to lose Willock. We're probably going to lose Maitland-Niles because he wants to play in midfield, even though he's probably a better right back. We brought in Lokonga. You know,
Torreira as well.
Exactly. He's not. Yeah, Torreira as well. Now, Arteta and Edu have made it clear, even if you look at their quotes, that Lokonga is not going to be a starter. You know, it's quite clear in their quotes in that he's going to be in and around the first team. He's going to be there, but he's not going to be, you know, in the starting 11. But, you know, they're buying players that, you know, last season, one of the things that really cost us was squad depth. You know, that was an area that massively cost us. So we need to just stop moaning about the fact that we're buying players and just embrace the fact that we are actually buying players. You know, is there more work to be done? Yes, we need probably a backup goalkeeper. We need, you know, a right back. We probably need a couple midfielders and maybe even a centre forward. But at the end of the day, we've got three transfers. We're probably likely going to end this window with at least, you know, 5, if not 7, you know, incoming players, depending on departures. So, yeah, like, you know, lighten up a bit, man.
And the other thing as well, like rival fans, I mean, you know, Solo's a United fan, by the way, and, you know, I cannot see why he'd want to go to Arsenal, has no European ambition this season. We're not in Europe this season for the first time in 25 years. You know, like, we're actually, what rivals forget is we're one of the top teams out of the big 6 that have qualified the most consistently for Europe. We're one of the safest bets, Like, people look at the last 5 years, you know, they don't understand what a recency bias is, and they're like, oh, so you haven't been in the Champions League, but it was like one of the longest runs of qualifying for the Champions League without being broken. I think it was 22 or 23 seasons in a row where every year without fail was Champions League football. Even the likes of United's and Liverpool's and other teams haven't put that run or together, you know, and you know, it's one season that we're out of Europe, and all of a sudden, you know, people forget who we are. And to say, like, the ambition thing, like, if you're a player that's at, and I don't want to shit on Leicester, I don't want to disrespect them, but they've won 6 trophies in their history, and as you said, every season they are selling one of their best players. It was Maguire, then it was Mahrez, then Kante, Chilwell last season.
Next season it will be Tielemans. It will be. Like, that's what they do.
What does it say to you as a gifted player when you're in a team where no matter what, every season one of your best teammates is going to be gone, and you're going to be bringing in good players, but it's going to take those a year or 2 to get off the ground. You know, so whereas we're joining Arsenal, who now have just tied down 3 or 4 of their best youngsters in the face of bids from other clubs where we could have taken the Leicester high road, but didn't. And we've got a much bigger brand and global presence. you know, the fact that Leicester missed that. The Maddison. I know that there was the discipline with him breaching COVID protocol.
Yeah,
but missed out on the England squad, and people don't realise. I know I've said this on one of my shows the other days, but I'm going to repeat it. You know, like there is a Big Six bias. If people think there isn't a Big Six bias in this country, you know, look
it's been like that for it's been like that for as long as I can remember.
Why wasn't Grealish starting? People say it's injury, but no, Saka was playing ahead of him. And then, you know, there was even points where Mount, Foden were playing ahead of him, you know. And why is that? Because you think it's convenient that they play for Big Six clubs? So no, maybe you can look at it from the perspective of ambition-wise. He thinks that coming to a Big Six club, which we still are, is going to enhance his chances of representing his country and increasing his stock, you know, in a global sense. So,
and even, you know what, even I don't really want to touch upon it, but touching upon United, you know, like obviously, you know, they're going to give it all that now because, you know, Arsenal have had 2 seasons back-to-back 8th, and, you know, we're not in the Champions League or not in Europe for the first 25 years or whatever it is. But look, you know, I don't even want to spend too much time on it, but, you know, United and Ollie, they got a big season ahead because, like you say, they've spent more or less, £500 million on players, you know, just shy. And he's won nothing.
At all.
He's won nothing.
I mean,
like,
you know,
I mean, they laughed at us when Villarreal put us out in the Europa League Cup, and they put them out too.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So,
you know, maybe Solo should be worrying about the fact that Pogba think his ambitions to win trophies.
Listen, he's running down his contract. He ain't signing no contract. He's running it down, mate. You never know. We might have a good season. We might take him from you.
Seriously, like
might sign him on the free next summer.
But yeah, going through some more of the comments. Wenger picked a British core that wasn't top to bottom. Excellent. White, Maddison, adding to ESR. Saka is excellent top to bottom. You know, I think, I think I agree as well. You know, look, you know, there was another comment here from Pyro. I'm intrigued to know who Pyro Destiny supports, but that was asking, is Smith Rowe an improvement on Maddison? I just want to chime into that quickly. These young players need a leader. You know, you mentioned the age difference. Him being 24 now, he's just about to step into his prime. Saka, ESR, Martinelli, Tierney, these guys are some way away from it. You know, they're all in their earlier 20s to some of them still teenagers. You know,
don't get some of these arguments. You know, I really don't get it.
Maddison, you know, is probably going to play. Saka, ESR, Martinelli can't play 30 or 40 games a season.
That's it.
And when players play 30 or 40 games a season and they have injury problems like Jack Wilshere did, they end up being 29 years old, being released from Bournemouth.
That's it.
After earlier on in their career, they were playing Barcelona and getting called man of the match and being told by a prime Xavi and an Iniesta that they were going to that Jack Wilshere was going to take over their mantle as the greatest. We all saw that didn't happen. So you need, like, the modern game is a squad game. It's not an individual game.
This is it.
You need to raise the floor of the squad, and Maddison is a guy that can do that.
Yep.
You know, as you
maybe
said,
you know what, Gunner King. Maybe Man City should sell De Bruyne because he's stopping the development of Foden.
Maybe.
So it's for me, it's ridiculous. Like, the argument is just ridiculous. Like, we have a very talented, gifted player in Smith Rowe. He's not of an age to shoulder all the creative responsibility across a season.
Not the finished article.
Yeah, even a league campaign without Europe, even across 38 games in the league, it's you shouldn't even expect a player of his age to play every single league game. You know, very few players in most clubs play every single league game. So if you're saying, okay, we don't need Maddison, so when Smith Rowe isn't playing, who do we play then?
Saka's not a natural number 10. Martinelli's not a natural number 10. Willock's probably the closest to a number 10. But the thing is, Willock's game at the moment needs development time. So whether it's by means of going out on loan because he can't sit on the bench behind an ESR or he gets sold. He's going to be there at the start of the season. That leaves no other player that can be recognised and play as a number 10. Now, we look at last season, and a lot was down to ESR, but we can't overlook the impact of Odegaard either. The fact that there was two number 10s that were integrated and introduced into the team, and they both got minutes. They both got game time. None of them was moaning. There was no squad management issues with those two. So,
look at the time. Let's go back. Look at the time when we had Bergkamp, Henry, Kanu, and Wiltord all in the same squad.
That's it.
Like, come on, man. Do you know what I mean? You just got to look at the Man City side. You know, they can field probably 3 teams. You know, it's like you need squad depth, and that's what cost us. So for me, I just don't really understand. I get the arguments from rival fans, because they just want to hate. Period. Whatever we do, they're just going to want to hate. Similarly to probably the way we are, you know, about their teams. But from actual Arsenal fans, you know, worrying about Maddison's potential transfer, you know, stunting the development of Smith Rowe. For me, I just don't get that rationale at all. I don't get it.
I don't either. You know, like I think, and you know, like I think that ties in a bit with Georgina's point here. You know, why is it a bad thing to want to go to a club and prove yourself, get the team back into Europe? I mean, if the team gets back into Europe next season, and I am saying if, I'm still stipulating in hypotheticals, then we need a bigger squad again. So then bringing your Maddison in has paid off, because then you need to rotate even further.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think, you know, there's definitely ambition there for Maddison to want to move to what is a bigger club. We might not be in a better state at the moment. We might not be performing better. There might, you know, Leicester might be better run, but they are not a bigger club. So ambition to join a bigger club and make it a better run club as well is ambitious.
It's not even close. Like, you know, all these arguments about, you know, who's a bigger club, etc., etc. Look, Leicester City, you know, I think their invitation to the Super League got lost in the post. So
there you go. Yeah, they probably were more deserving of it, of those trophy dodgers across the road. So
let's not even get into them.
You know, like at least they've got recent trophies and an actual Premier League one.
Look how long it took them to even secure a manager.
Exactly. Yeah, like you've got to laugh. Yeah, and I have to agree with Sharif here fully. You know, like there's no danger that these guys' development is going to be damaged. You don't give a player a number 10 shirt in the wake of potentially signing a number 10 or a player that has been a number 10 for Leicester, and then think, I'm going to halt his development by not playing him. Come on. Smith Rowe can play on the left as well.
Yeah.
So that's the other question that I wanted to get into about Maddison. Now, you know, interestingly here, and you know, there were times in Leicester's system where he played in a 4-3-3 as an advanced 8. You know, a lot of us see him as a 10 player. I see him as a player that can play both. Maybe also out wide on the left, because he does drift out into the channels when he plays centrally for Leicester. Where do you see him playing and having an impact? What sort of a system would we need to accommodate his strengths?
You know what? I'm very much like you. I can see him playing like potentially multiple positions for Arsenal. I could even see him and Smith Rowe playing on the same side.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so, and I think that's one of the reasons why, you know, we're in for a player like Maddison, because he can actually play in multiple positions. So, you know, he can, for me, you know, he can play number 8. So you could almost line up, in my opinion, you could almost line up with Partey, Maddison, and Smith Rowe in the same side as a free midfield. Obviously, with Partey playing more kind of deep line midfielder, because Maddison's up for a scrap. He's always up for a scrap. He puts his foot in, you know. So you could play him. You could play Partey, Maddison number 8, and then Smith Rowe 10, and you could equally play.
He's good at interceptions, isn't he? Like,
he is. He is
back, and he puts himself about as well. So
he is. Yeah,
it'll be like two kind of flanking 8 box to box 8s. You could.
They're actually very similar.
Partey,
they're actually very similar. And also you could play Smith Rowe, as you said. You can play Smith Rowe on the left. And you can also play Maddison wide left. So I think it's clear, like I think very clear that we want to go to, you know, or we want to play, you know, predominantly or consistently a 4-3-3.
But they can still play in a 4-2-3-1 with one being on the left and one being the 10. And then those two interchanging as well. So they, in both formations, there's no, you know,
with these players, you've got fluidity.
Yeah.
Do you understand? You've got fluidity. They can play 8, they can play 10, they can play, with a 3 up top, a 3 up top, 1 behind us. Yeah, it's it's kind of endless. And I think that's definitely what Arteta's going for. If you see the way he's used Martinelli, if you see the way he's used Saka, Pepe, there have been times when Pepe's played right, he's played on the left. Same with Saka, he's played on the right and the left. Uber plays out on the left. Sometimes he's in the middle. So you definitely got that
change during games as well.
Yeah. So no, I don't see Maddison. If we do sign Maddison, I don't see Maddison coming in and playing a fixed position within the Arsenal team. I think obviously a lot of it will depend on selection, like who's fit, who's available, and I think a lot of it will also depend on the opposition as well. But I definitely see him playing, probably within 3 of those positions. So I either see him tucked in the middle with Partey, maybe a little bit more advanced than Partey in the number 8 position, either, similarly in Smith Rowe's place as a number 10, or also out wide left. I can see him playing either. And to be honest, like, having watched him over the last couple of years and stuff in the Premier League, whatever side you play him, I think he's going to be a threat because he can ping it top bins with his right or his left. Yeah. So he's some player. So yeah, I don't see him playing in a fixed position. No. And I think that's you can say that a lot for a lot of the Arsenal players at the moment. They can play in multiple positions, and they have been playing in multiple positions, definitely at the back end of last season. So that's kind of where I see him playing, just kind of a mixture of maybe 3 positions within, depending on how we line up and who we're playing against.
Who we're playing against, yeah. And I think that's good. I think, where we probably look at one of Arteta's biggest faults last season was, say, going into Villarreal game, trying out a new formation, probably not having the personnel for it, but trying a false 9 situation. Yeah. I think the players that you have that can play in multiple positions gives you that fluidity, which is good. Yeah. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. But I think I agree as well between those 3 positions that they'll be looking at all of them. But I think we're looking to wrap up now. But I think before we go, there was one more thing that I did want to discuss. And that is the Villa fans. I will be tracking down Villa Network. I do to see the tattoo along with the letter of apology. Smith Rowe is signed. He's our boy. We kept telling you all along. You didn't listen, and now look at you. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you got to laugh, eh?
What a joker. It's. I'm glad, like, what it is when things like that happen. I'm just glad that people use screenshot. Use screenshot and capture that because, I wouldn't be surprised if that account gets deactivated. To be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised.
Okay.
But yeah, this whole Villa fan. I was saying to you earlier, when we was offline, you was having a conversation. I once shared an office with a Villa fan in one of my previous jobs, and we got on, and I think one of the reasons why we got on is because he knew his level. Do you know what I mean? He knew his level, and I think he used to always throw around the fact that they have won a European Cup. But other than that, he was very humble, and he was very appreciative of the fact that other than that, they've done nothing, in terms of like silverware in comparison to Arsenal.
I checked it the other day. The last trophy was in '98.
It's a joke. And it's
when even Spurs can talk to you about the last time you won a trophy.
And it's all to do with obviously, like, Villa had a reasonably good season last season. Well, probably one of their best seasons because I think the season before that they just escaped relegation, albeit for goal line technology. So they had a decent season last season. Obviously, they've got some good players. Grealish is. I make no doubt about it. He is probably my favorite player who doesn't play for Arsenal. And then you've got the whole Buendia situation. Supposedly we were desperate to get Buendia, and they beat us to the signature of Buendia. Listen, we just paid 50 million for a centre back. If we wanted Buendia, we would have signed Buendia.
Yeah, we would have gone in for him. I think
it's that simple.
we looked at the players in that position because Buendia is more of a right-sided player that comes in centrally, and we got Pepe and Saka out there. We got Martinelli and Smith Rowe that play there, and we probably thought we need someone that's actually more central, more Premier League proven. If money was the issue, why are we going in for Maddison now in the same position?
Exactly. Money wasn't the issue.
25 million more than what they paid for Buendia, but they beat us to the transfer. Yeah. We believe you.
And you know what? It's all bants, in it. It's like, you know what I mean? It's we in a way we kind of have to expect it. You know what I mean? Because for so long, we've been in Europe for so long. Years gone by, we were winning premierships. Even in our worst, however you look at it in terms of like the last however many years, we still won 3 on FA Cups. In that time, so. It's bound to cause teams to kind of creep from under their rocks and start to kind of, big up their chest and start to get some clout. But, Aston Villa fans know the level. They know they're not a big club like Arsenal. It's just and the way it is the way how much attention they give to Arsenal. There was one I was saying to you when we were off air. There was one guy, and he was tweeting, and he was saying about, we dodged a bullet with Smith Rowe, and it's so funny because you Arsenal fans think we're bothered. And I literally just because I don't really get involved. I say to Stephen and Lottie, I don't really get involved with Twitter arguments because sometimes you can't really argue with stupid a lot of the time. Yeah. So I tend to not get involved. But I just tweeted and just said, why are you tweeting about it then?
Yeah.
If you're not that bothered. Why are you tweeting? Like, you will never see me tweet about Aston Villa. You will never see me tweet about Leicester City. I don't care what they do, who they have, who they sign, where they finish in the league table. Like, when I'm looking at Leicester City and an Aston Villa, I'm looking. Like, I don't even see them as rival clubs. Like, I don't. Even though we finished 8th for the last 2 seasons, I'm still, the magnitude of Arsenal Football Club. I'm still looking at the Uniteds, the Liverpools. I'm still looking at, obviously the emergence of Chelsea and Man City with their oil money or whatever. But those are the teams I'm looking at because that's where we should be. That's where we want to be. I ain't got time to be giving Leicester City fans and Aston Villa fans any attention. I ain't got time for it.
I mean, I saw the tweet, but I just kind of dropped some screenshots in the thread.
Yeah.
Fans caught in 4K, just like this guy, who I'm just going to give one more feature. Yeah. So is this like, is this you? What I mean? Like, all of a sudden, it's just like, oh, the guy's shit. We didn't want him anyway.
Yeah.
Typical. Not.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man.
But listen, GTalksArsenal. It's been great to have you on today. Looking forward to working a lot more with Cannon Chatter. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I definitely think we'll be working together in the future. Just one more thing for all of the watchers today. Please hit the like and the subscribe to the channel buttons. You know where they're at. Hit the little bell as well so you get the notifications. The Armoury TV is growing in conjunction with FTB Sports. We've got, fan channels for other teams there. PAXTON Road for Spurs. The United Agenda for Arsenal, for Manchester United, sorry. Liverpool, they've got a fans forum as well. But that's the end of today's show. It's been really good to have you on.
No, you know what? Yeah, it's been fantastic because you know what? This is actually it's really special for me as well because this is actually my debut on your show, but also my debut on any other show other than Cannon Chatter TV. So massive thank you to you. Really appreciate the invite, and I thoroughly enjoyed the last hour. Really so massive thank you to you, man. I appreciate it, bro.
No worries, G. And we will be leaving links in the comment section of where Cannon Chatter can be found. So check out their page. Don't forget to subscribe to those guys as well. They're growing really quickly as well. We've got some great characters on there, and we'll stay tuned. We're going to be doing a lot of work together in the future. And everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. I will be back next week.